Hello, it's Amy again, back from a long break of showing you machines, and I'm here to teach you about the Oster machine. Let's start by loading the recipe. So take a screenshot of this recipe and you'll have it. Now I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do. This Oster is a bucket that sits in there and it actually snaps down in. But then you pull it out, and this particular pan, as you can see, has a paddle in it. All your machines have to have a paddle for it to meet, and this particular paddle does not separate, and I don't know if it's supposed to or not, but I haven't been able to separate it, so I just keep working with it. But you take your bucket out and you're going to load it here on the side, and so we're going to start with 1.5 cups of warm water. All I do is get tap water, warm, tempered, above, not hot, you don't want it to kill your yeast, but just warm water from the tap. And it takes 1.5 cups of warm water. Now you can do milk, and you can warm your milk in the microwave, but I just use water. My friends that are Polynesian love the milk because it reminds them of their Polynesian mama's bread. So when I do it for my Polynesian friends, I do milk. So here's 1.5 cups of warm water. We're pouring that in. Then we need 1 teaspoon of salt. Two tablespoons of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of oil. It can be any oil, whatever you got that you use in your home regularly. Just 2 tablespoons of oil. Very easy. And now I'm going to teach you something about flour. This is bread flour. I buy it in the big bag from Costco. But when you dump it into a bucket, which I recommend you do it so that you have a big area to work with, you're going to want to stir the flour and give it some air because it's packed. And you want to measure it when it's not packed. Otherwise your loaf will be harder, more firm, more like a brick. So I just take my large spoon that I leave in here all the time, and I stir it, and you can feel with the spoon when it becomes lighter because you've added air into it. So I stir it, and you don't pack your flour. You never pack your flour, but you're gonna come in here, and this happens to be a 2-cup measure. It calls for 4 cups of bread flour, so I'm putting in enough to smooth it off the top, and then I pour it in my bucket. That's 2 cups, and I'll do it again. And you can tell when you slice this spoon through the flour, when it's dense, it feels much thicker. And when you give it a little bit of air, it just goes through real lightly. And you want that light configuration to be measuring it with. We're not gonna sift it. We just wanna make sure it's not packed. So there's 4 cups of flour, bread flour. Then we're gonna put in our yeast, and I use the InstaStaff yeast by the foil packet that I get at the store, much less expensive than the yeast, and it's 1 teaspoon, and I leave the teaspoon in there. And then the magic ingredient, if you're at a high altitude living, which I'm in Utah, when I was in California, I didn't need this ingredient because it was lower altitude. But this is Vital Wheat gluten, and it makes your loaves of bread light. It's got gluten, so it gives it that rising ability to give you a nice light loaf. And this calls for a tablespoon of Vital Wheat gluten, and here in Utah, I do a heaping tablespoon. Very hearty heaping tablespoon of Vital Wheat gluten. I get this I originally bought it in a tin can like this at Macy's, but now I buy it in the bins by the scoops at Winco. And then I refill this because I like it so much. Okay, now that our bucket is filled, I'm gonna load it into the machine. Now you'll notice there's a handle, but then on both sides there's these little forks that come out, and inside your machine is two little catching mechanisms that allow it to go in and rest on it. I think I might have put it in backwards. There we go. It drops down in. You're gonna push it down till it anchors, and you can tell it anchors because I can't move it. And then you're gonna close your lid. So now I'm gonna instruct you. You can see the buckets in here, and you can see the anchoring mechanisms on both sides. And you want your handle off to the side. So you don't want your bread to rise and get the handle stuck in it. So you push it to the sides, and it's an oven. Remember, this is an oven. It's going to get hot. So we're going to close the lid, and I'm going to plug it in over here. When you plug it in, you can start pressing select, and you have all these choices. Number 1 is regular medium crust. 2 is large medium crust. 3 is large dark crust. 4 is whole wheat. Regular medium crust. Whole wheat large medium crust. 6 is large medium rapid. If you go down to 7, you can do French bread medium crust. 8 is sweet medium crust. 9 is dough. 9 is what I use a lot, because I'll pull the dough out and make French bread loaves and bake them in the oven. And then I can also make pizza. I can do dinner rolls. Between number 1 and number 3 is what I use a lot. Number 10 is a cake, quick bread, which I've never used. And 11 is a jam and jelly, and I've never used it. But you can always go online and look up manual Oster, and you'll get a manual if you want more details on it. Now, because of what I'm doing a large. This is a 2-pound loaf recipe that I gave you. So it's a large medium crust. And I want this to be done in the morning. This is 7:30 at night, and I want this to end at 7:30 in the morning. So I'm going to start pressing the timer up. And if you hold it, I guess you have to click it. I thought if I held it, it would go, but it doesn't. So I'm going to click this through to 12 hours before I press start. There's 12 hours, and now I'm going to press start. And it's not going to start kneading because it's going to delay. And in 12 hours at 7:30 in the morning, I'll be able to come back and take this out hot. So I will see you in 12 hours. Well, good morning. It smells wonderful this morning. The machine says end in the display of the Oster. And smells good. It's ready to go. So I'm going to unplug it. And then I'm going to open the lid. And mine rose just a little bit. I'm going to have to clean up the lid just a little bit where it touched. But you want to get a hot pad and pull up on the handle. So now you can grab it by the handle, and you're going to pull straight up with the bucket after you wrestle with it. There we go. It comes straight out, and the bucket is really hot. It's kind of it's a very sturdy bucket. It's very well made. It's thick. And so now I'm gonna shake it out by having the handle out of the way. You shake it out, and then you put it on a cooling rack. If you don't put it on a cooling rack and you let it sit on this cold counter, it'll sweat. So you need air all the way around it. So always put it on a cooling rack. You can cool it on its side or up or standing up. I like to do it on its side and turn it occasionally. You'll notice this time the paddle is still in there. It's very important that you make sure the paddle is out, and the bottom of your bread will have a little bit of a paddle mark. But if your paddle is in your bread, you have to go in there and remove it. I have literally given a loaf of bread away with the paddle in it and had to go rescue my paddle because the machine is no good without the paddle. I'm going to let the lid kind of toast in there so it makes it easy to take off. The heat in the machine will make that kind of toast, and it'll just pop right off to clean it. But that's how it works. If you want to slice this while it's hot, I recommend an electric knife. We'll cut right through this. This is medium, and it's kind of got a crunchy edge. But if you give it 15 minutes, you can slice it with a normal knife and enjoy. I like cutting it really fat, an inch thick for French toast. It's really good for garlic bread, for avocado toast. Paninis are great on this bread. My grandkids just eat it hot out of the machine. Some like butter, some like honey, some like peanut butter. But it's an easy, quick snack. If I know family's coming, I'll load the machine and go for it. So enjoy.